The lawyer's voice cuts through the mahogany-paneled office like a blade. To my beloved granddaughter, Maya Bennett, I leave the entirety of my estate, financial assets, real estate, investments, and holdings valued at approximately $5 billion. The room explodes. My father shoots to his feet, chair clattering backward. My mother gasps, clutching the table. My brother rips off his sunglasses, face turning crimson. I sit frozen, certain I've misheard. 5 billion? To me? That's impossible, my father roars. She's nobody, just a piano teacher. I am Maya Bennett, 28 years old. 7 weeks ago, I was scraping by in a cramped apartment, teaching children how to play chopsticks on second-hand keyboards. My life was simple, ordinary, invisible. Then came the midnight phone call that shattered everything. My grandfather, William Bennett, the man the world knew as a billionaire entrepreneur, but I knew as the only person who truly saw me, had died in a car accident. The drunk driver walked away. Grandpa didn't. Now, sitting in this lawyer's office, watching my family's faces twist with rage and entitlement, I understand something profound. This isn't just about money. This is about who I've always been versus who they wished I was. And when they demand I hand it all over, I say one word that changes everything. No. Before that morning, my life wasn't glamorous. I was just Maya Bennett, piano teacher at Harbor Music Studio downtown. My days were filled with scales, beginner recitals, and the occasional prodigy whose talent made my heart soar. My salary barely covered rent on my studio apartment, groceries, and my ancient Honda that wheezed every time I started it. But I wasn't unhappy. I found joy in small things: a student's first perfect melody, quiet evenings with sheet music, the way sunrise looked through my kitchen window. My parents never understood. To them, success meant corner offices and country club memberships. My passion for teaching music was just another disappointment in a long list. The truth is, I always felt like a stranger in my own family. My father, Thomas Bennett, was obsessed with status and appearances. He spoke to me only to criticize my wasted potential. My mother, Victoria, cared more about her social circle than her daughter's happiness. My brother, Brandon, was the golden child, spoiled, reckless, perpetually forgiven. The only person who made me feel valued was Grandpa William. From childhood, his estate wasn't just wealthy, it was sanctuary. I remember running through marble halls, not noticing the priceless art, only chasing the sound of Grandpa's laughter echoing after me. On Sunday afternoons, he'd sit beside me at his grand piano, fingers surprisingly nimble for a man in his 80s. He'd lean close and whisper, "Maya, money will buy you a piano, but it can't buy you music. That comes from here." He'd tap my chest, where my heart beat fast. Those lessons went far beyond music. Grandpa taught me that wealth is a tool, not an identity. While my parents performed success, Grandpa lived with quiet dignity. He drove the same car for 15 years, wore tailored suits older than me, and never cared about impressing anyone. I spent more weekends at his estate than at home. We baked cookies in his massive kitchen, played chess by the fireplace, walked gardens where he'd planted roses himself. He listened, really listened, when I talked about my dreams. Unlike my parents, he never rolled his eyes. Sometimes I wondered if he knew I didn't belong with them. He never said it outright, but in the way he smiled at me, I felt a promise. "One day, Maya, you'll understand why I've kept you close." Back then, I thought it just meant he loved me. I didn't realize it was also a warning. The phone call came on a Tuesday evening. I was grading practice sheets at my kitchen table when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Miss Bennett? A man's voice, heavy and official. This is Officer Martinez. I'm sorry to inform you that your grandfather, William Bennett, was in a collision tonight. A drunk driver struck his vehicle. He didn't survive. The world blurred. My pen slipped, ink bleeding across the page. Didn't survive? My chest refused to accept it. Grandpa wasn't just alive, he was eternal. He was supposed to attend my students' spring recital. He was supposed to call tomorrow asking if I'd eaten. He couldn't be gone. But he was. The funeral was a blur of black clothes and hollow condolences. The estate that once felt like haven became a stage for hypocrisy. My parents took charge of everything, not from love, but from pride. They barked at funeral directors about flower arrangements, scolded caterers for insufficient hors d'oeuvres quality. My mother clutched her pearls and whispered loudly, "Can you believe he still drove himself? A billionaire acting like a common man." My father stood rigid, jaw clenched, eyes sharp and restless. He wasn't mourning, he was calculating. Assets, accounts, holdings. Brandon leaned against a column, scrolling through his phone, sighing as if the whole event inconvenienced him. When I asked if he was okay, he shrugged. "I'll be better once we know what we're getting." I wanted to scream. How could they stand where Grandpa's life was being honored and talk about money? I stood near the casket, staring at his peaceful face, hands folded neatly over his chest. I whispered so no one else could hear, "I'll make you proud, Grandpa, I promise." But glancing around, I realized I was the only one who felt that way. 2 weeks later, the call came from James Parker, Grandpa's lawyer. His voice was calm but firm. "Maya, your grandfather's will is ready to be read. He requested your presence and your immediate families. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. at my office." Something in his tone made my stomach twist. That meeting would change everything. The next morning, I stood outside James Parker's office, an old Victorian building with dark wood and stained glass windows casting long shadows. Inside, the air smelled of leather and coffee. James greeted me with a solemn smile, silver hair perfectly combed. "Maya," he said softly, shaking my hand, "your grandfather spoke of you often. He was very proud." My voice cracked. "Thank you." Before I could say more, the door burst open. My parents swept in as if they owned the place. My father adjusted his expensive watch with a sharp snap. My mother's heels clicked like gunshots against hardwood. Brandon slouched in wearing sunglasses indoors at 9 a.m., shirt half-tucked, smirk plastered across his face. "Let's get this over with," my father barked. "We all know I'll be managing the empire now." James' polite smile didn't falter. He gestured toward a conference room where a long oak table waited. I sat near him. My parents claimed the head seats. Brandon sprawled carelessly, sneakers on the table edge. James cleared his throat, adjusted his glasses, and opened a thick leather folder. William Bennett was of sound mind when he updated his will last year. He underwent cognitive evaluations, and I was present for every signing. My father waved impatiently. "Yes, yes, read it." James began. "I, William Bennett, being of sound mind and body, hereby declare this my final will and testament. To my beloved granddaughter, Maya Bennett, I leave the entirety of my estate, financial assets, real estate, investments, and holdings valued at approximately $5 billion. The words hung like thunder. I froze. $5 billion? To me? The room exploded. What? My father shot up so fast his chair toppled backward. His face was crimson, veins bulging. That's insane. He would never bypass me. My mother clutched the table. $5 billion to a girl who teaches piano? She doesn't know the first thing about handling money. Brandon slammed his palm against the wood. Where's my cut? I need capital for my startup. He promised me. James raised a hand calmly. Mr. Bennet anticipated this response. He made it explicitly clear his decision was intentional. He stated that his son and daughter-in-law had been provided for during his lifetime, and that he wished his fortune to pass solely to Maya. My father's fists trembled. Lies. You manipulated him, Maya whispered in his ear while he was confused. I shook my head, tears pricking my eyes. No, I didn't even know he was rewriting his will. I never asked for anything. James reached for a remote and pressed a button. A screen on the wall lit up. Suddenly, there he was, Grandpa. He sat in his familiar leather chair, hands folded, voice calm but firm. If you're watching this, I've passed. Thomas, Victoria, Brandon, I love you as family, but I can no longer ignore what you've become. Greed has blinded you. You see me as a wallet, not as a father or grandfather. Maya is different. She visits because she cares, not because she wants. She lives with integrity. She will carry my legacy with dignity. My mother gasped. Brandon cursed. My father shouted at the screen. This is manipulation. James's voice cut through. The will is legally binding. Contesting it will be expensive and nearly impossible given the documentation. The fury in my father's eyes as he turned to me chilled my blood. This isn't over, Maya. You think you can defy us? You'll regret it. I sat frozen, Grandpa's words echoing. She will carry my legacy with dignity. I realized then, the fortune wasn't just money, it was a weight, a test, a responsibility. And my family would do everything to take it from me. That evening my phone buzzed, a text from my father. Come home, 6 p.m., we'll settle this as a family. No question mark. An order. I almost didn't go, but stupidly I hoped maybe they just needed time to calm down. I was wrong. When I arrived, the house was eerily quiet. The living room looked like a boardroom. My father stood by the fireplace, scotch in hand. My mother perched on a designer chair, eyes cold. Brandon sprawled across the sofa, laptop open. Sit, my father commanded. I obeyed, fingers clenched in my lap. You know what you need to do, Maya. His voice was steady, but rage simmered beneath. Sign the estate over to me. I'll manage it properly. You'll receive a generous allowance, 10%. More money than you'll ever need. 10%? I echoed. That's over $500 million. My mother cut in smoothly. Enough to buy a mansion, live like a queen. You don't need responsibility. Leave that to your father. Brandon slammed his laptop. $500 million is plenty. I need the rest for my company. Grandpa wanted me to succeed. Don't be selfish. The words pierced like knives. Selfish? I whispered. Grandpa chose me because I wasn't like this, because I didn't see him as a bank account. My father's face hardened. He stepped closer, looming. This isn't about choice, it's about family loyalty. Either you sign, or you walk out that door with nothing. Understand? Silence stretched. My heartbeat pounded. I thought of Grandpa, his laughter, his lessons, the way he told me money was just a tool, the way he smiled when I played piano, not because I was perfect, but because I was me. I lifted my chin. No. The room erupted. My mother shot up, voice shrill. You ungrateful brat! After everything, private schools, lessons, a roof over your head, you dare defy us? Brandon sneered. Enjoy being rich and alone. You'll come crawling back once you realize money can't hug you at night." But my father's words cut deepest. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "If you walk out tonight without signing, Maya, you are no longer my daughter. Don't come back. Don't call. Don't expect help. You'll be dead to us." My breath caught. Part of me wanted to cry, to beg him to take it back. But another part, the part Grandpa nurtured, stood firm. "I guess I've been dead to you for years," I said quietly. "You never saw me. You only saw what you wanted." My father's face twisted with fury. He grabbed my arm, yanking me toward the front door. My mother followed, shouting orders. "Pack a bag. 30 minutes. After that, locks will be changed." I stumbled into my childhood bedroom, walls lined with old recital trophies and faded posters. Hands shaking, I stuffed clothes into a duffel, grabbed my passport, my grandmother's quilt, the photo of Grandpa and me at the piano. Everywhere I looked, I saw ghosts of the girl I used to be. When I returned to the hallway, my father waited, arms crossed, eyes cold. He opened the front door and gestured outward. Out. The night air was icy as I stepped onto the porch. My bags felt impossibly heavy. My mother's voice followed. "You'll regret this, Maya. Money won't keep you warm. Family is forever." I turned, voice steady despite tears. "Then why did you just throw me away?" The door slammed shut. Just like that, I was homeless. But I wasn't defeated. In my pocket was a small brass key engraved with Grandpa's initials, the key to his estate, the one place left that felt like home. I gripped it tightly. If they thought they could strip me of everything, they were wrong. This was just the beginning. The drive to Grandpa's estate felt endless. My old Honda rattled along the dark road, headlights cutting through mist. My duffel bags piled on the passenger seat. The only thing I clutched was that small brass key. Grandpa had pressed it into my hand last year with a wink. "Someday you might need this, Maya." I never imagined he meant now. When the iron gates came into view, my chest tightened. They rose like sentinels, tall and unyielding, with the family crest carved into the center. Could I really cross that threshold without him? But I remembered the slam of my parents' door, the finality in my father's voice. I had nowhere else. The key slid into the lock. The gates creaked open. I drove up the winding driveway lined with ancient oaks whose branches seemed to bow in welcome. When the mansion appeared, my breath caught. Windows glowed softly, as though the house had been waiting. I parked and climbed the steps. My hand trembled as I turned the key. The lock clicked. The door swung open. The scent hit me instantly. Lemon polish and cedarwood, the same smell I'd known since childhood. I stepped inside. The grand foyer stretched before me, marble floors gleaming under the chandelier. My shoes echoed loudly. I half expected Grandpa to appear at the stairs, scolding me for being late for dinner, but the silence was deafening. "Miss Maya." I jumped, nearly dropping my bag. A figure emerged from shadows, a tall man with silver-streaked hair in a pressed uniform. Recognition flooded me. "Edward?" "Edward Hayes," he confirmed, smiling faintly. "I've been with your grandfather for 30 years. Now, I suppose, I'm with you." Emotions swelled. "I thought everyone would be gone. I thought I'd be alone." Edward shook his head firmly. "Mr. Bennett anticipated trouble. He told me, if anything happens, you protect Maya. She is the true heir. He left detailed instructions." Tears pricked my eyes. Of course he had. Grandpa was always 5 steps ahead. Edward led me into the study where a fire crackled. "I keep the house running. Your grandfather insisted it remain ready. He said one day she might need sanctuary here." I sank into a leather chair, flames warming my chilled skin. For the first time all night, I felt safe. But it was fleeting. "What happens now, Edward?" I asked quietly. "My family won't let this go." His expression darkened. "They came after the funeral, tried taking things. Jewelry, documents, I stopped them. But Mr. Bennet knew they'd return. That's why he prepared. You'll see tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" Edward nodded. "Mr. Parker will visit. There are files, recordings, letters your grandfather left. He built a wall of protection around you, Maya, but you must stand firm." I leaned back, clutching my grandmother's quilt. The house hummed with life around me, the ticking clock, crackling fire, faint whir of security cameras I hadn't noticed. For the first time all night, I felt something stronger than fear: resolve. If my family wanted war, they'd find I wasn't alone. Grandpa's estate wasn't just a house, it was a fortress, a legacy, and I was ready to defend it. The next morning, I woke to voices downstairs. For a moment, I panicked. Had my family already found me? I grabbed my phone and crept to the landing, but it was just Edward at the door, speaking calmly to a familiar figure. "Miss Maya," Edward called gently, "it's Mr. Parker." Relief washed over me. James Parker stepped inside, briefcase in hand, face serious but warm. "Your grandfather trusted me with more than his will," he said. "He trusted you." I followed him into the study where sunlight spilled across the mahogany desk. He opened his briefcase and withdrew a thick envelope sealed with Grandpa's initials. "He wrote you letters," James explained. "Guidance, instructions, warnings." My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside were neatly typed pages, each signed in Grandpa's steady hand. "Maya," the letter began, "if you're reading this, I'm gone. I know your father and mother will come for you. Do not give in. I have prepared for this moment." Tears blurred my vision, but I kept reading. "You will not stand alone. I have gathered people who care for you, people who will protect you when blood turns against you. Trust them as you trusted me." As if on cue, Edward reappeared with guests. A woman in her 50s wearing a simple cardigan, carrying folders. "This is Margaret Sullivan, your grandfather's housekeeper for 25 years. Margaret's eyes welled up as she hugged me. "Oh, Maya, you look just like your mother did before greed changed her. Your grandfather adored you." She laid folders on the table. "These are journals your grandmother kept, records of every visit, every demand your father made, every kindness you offered. They prove why your grandfather made his decision." I flipped through one. My grandmother's handwriting danced across pages. "Thomas came again demanding money. When we refused, he stormed out. Maya arrived later with soup. She stayed until William's fever broke." Every entry was validation, proof of my parents' neglect and my bond with my grandparents. More allies arrived throughout the morning. Sarah Chen, Grandpa's business partner, who brought financial records and offered to teach me about Bennett Industries. Daniel Foster, the investment advisor who'd managed Grandpa's portfolio for decades, showing transparent records of careful planning. Judge Patricia Morrison greeted me solemnly. "Your grandfather asked me to act as neutral witness if disputes arose. I won't let his wishes be twisted." The room filled with voices, papers, evidence. For hours they explained everything Grandpa had done to prepare, every precaution woven into a net designed to catch me if I fell. When the last binder closed, I sat back, overwhelmed. He knew this would happen. James placed a hand on mine. "Yes, and he trusted you to be stronger than them." Edward straightened his shoulders. "Your father came after the funeral, tried taking jewelry and documents. He won't stop. He'll return with the others." "But this time," James said firmly, "you'll be ready." I looked around at the faces, loyal, determined, united. They weren't my blood, but they felt more like family than anyone I'd ever known. I wiped my eyes and stood. If they want to come for me, let them. I won't run. I won't give up what Grandpa entrusted to me. Margaret squeezed my hand. "That's the spirit. He'd be proud." That night, lying in the master bedroom, I stared at carved ceiling beams. I finally understood the full weight of my inheritance. It wasn't just about surviving my family's rage. It was about protecting everything Grandpa built and proving I was worthy of his trust. and deep down I knew tomorrow would bring the first true test. 3 days later, the confrontation came. The morning was heavy, almost electric. Edward stationed himself near the front door like a soldier. Margaret bustled in the kitchen, movements deliberate. By 9 a.m., the mansion buzzed with allies. James spread documents across the dining table. Sarah set up her laptop with financial charts. Judge Morrison sat near the fireplace, her presence radiating authority. I stood at the center, heart pounding, palms slick. "They're coming," I whispered. As if summoned, tires crunched over gravel. Multiple cars pulled into the driveway, sleek, expensive vehicles gleaming like predators. My stomach lurched. Pounding on the front door rattled the chandelier. "Open up, Maya," my father's voice boomed. "You've had your fun. This is over." Edward glanced at me. I nodded, forcing steady breath. He unlocked the door and swung it wide. My family spilled inside like a flood. My father led, face red, veins bulging. My mother swept in behind, lips pursed. Brandon dragged his feet, eyes burning with greed. "This is still our house," my father barked. "You have no right to shut us out." I stood tall despite trembling knees. "Grandpa gave this to me, legally, morally, every way that matters." Brandon sneered. "Don't play innocent. You manipulated him. A billion-dollar empire belongs to family, not some broke piano teacher." James rose calmly, holding up folders. Actually, William Bennett anticipated these accusations. He left written and video statements clarifying that Maya was of sound character and his decision was deliberate. Contesting this will would be futile. My father snatched the folder, flipping pages furiously. "Fabricated! You think a judge will believe this over his own son's word?" "Depends on which judge," a deep voice interrupted. All eyes turned as Judge Morrison stepped forward. "Unfortunately for you, Thomas, I am one of them. Your father asked me personally to oversee any disputes. These documents, this evidence, it's airtight. You won't win." Color drained from my father's face, but rage quickly replaced fear. He jabbed a finger at me. "Ungrateful brat! You're tearing this family apart!" I swallowed hard, voice trembling but firm. "No, you did that long ago when you chose money over love." My mother's composure cracked, voice rising shrill. "After everything we gave you, private school, lessons, vacations, you repay us like this? $5 billion belongs to the Bennetts, not to you alone." Margaret emerged quietly, holding a small box. "Actually, Mrs. Bennet, your daughter belongs here more than anyone. These are journals your mother-in-law kept. Every visit, every demand, every kindness, they prove exactly why William made his choice." My mother froze as Margaret handed the box to James. He pulled out a page and read aloud. "Thomas demanded money again. When we refused, he shouted we were stingy. Maya came later with soup and stayed until William's fever broke." The room went silent except for crackling fire. Brandon suddenly lunged forward, slamming hands on the table. "Enough! We don't care about your stupid journals. Maya, just sign the transfer. I need capital for my platform. Grandpa would have wanted me to succeed." Sarah's voice cut sharp as glass. "He already gave you chances, Brandon. Multiple failed ventures, each burning through money. Your grandfather refused for a reason, because you never earned it." Brandon's face turned crimson. He turned on me. "You think you're better than me? You'll choke under this pressure. You'll come begging for help." I stood straighter, fire rising in my chest. "No, Brandon, for the first time, I'm not the one begging." My father exploded, sweeping documents off the table, scattering them across the floor. "This is garbage. None of this changes the truth. This fortune is mine by right." "By right?" Judge Morrison thundered. "Your father's will is law. You have no claim, Thomas, none." Then Edward stepped forward, holding a USB drive. Mr. Bennett had me install security cameras last year. They recorded something you should see. James plugged it into Sarah's laptop. Footage flickered to life. My father, mother, and Brandon rifling through drawers days after the funeral, stuffing jewelry and documents into bags. My mother gasped, That's out of context." A police chief who'd slipped in through the back stepped forward, arms crossed. "Context won't matter in court. Theft is theft. You're one step from handcuffs." For the first time, my father faltered. His bluster shrank, shoulders sagging. My mother's hands shook. Brandon cursed, backing away from the screen. I seized the moment, voice cutting through chaos. "I'm done being afraid of you. Grandpa trusted me. You can threaten, scream, steal, but you'll never take his legacy. Not from me." Silence. Then my father's voice, broken and venomous. "If you walk this path, Maya, you are no longer part of this family." I met his eyes, steady. "You made that choice the moment you tried to destroy me." The mansion seemed to exhale as they turned, one by one, and stormed out. Footsteps echoed down marble halls, doors slamming, engines roaring as their cars disappeared down the drive. I stood frozen, chest heaving, knees threatening to give out. But then I felt a hand on my shoulder, James' calm, steady grip. "You did it," he murmured. "You stood your ground." For the first time, I believed him. The days that followed blurred into meetings, paperwork, and decisions. James guided me through legal documents. Sarah walked me through company operations. Daniel explained investments. Margaret kept the house running. Edward never left my side. For the first time in my life, I wasn't overlooked or invisible. I was the one everyone turned to, the one entrusted with a legacy stretching far beyond money. My phone buzzed constantly with calls from my parents and Brandon, threats, manipulation, false sweetness. I didn't answer. I had nothing left to say. Instead, I poured myself into what mattered, honoring Grandpa. 3 months later, the William Bennett Foundation for Education and Arts launched. We dedicated $1.5 billion to scholarships, music programs, and community art centers. I stood on stage at the opening ceremony, foundation banner behind me, hands trembling as I adjusted the microphone. "This isn't just money," I said, scanning the crowd of students, teachers, and community members. "It's a legacy. My grandfather believed in integrity, hard work, and giving opportunities to those who need it most. Today, we carry that forward." Applause filled the air. For once, I didn't shrink from the applause. Life at the mansion transformed. The halls that once echoed with loneliness now buzzed with warmth. On Sundays, I hosted dinners, not with blood relatives, but with the people Grandpa trusted. James, Sarah, Margaret, Edward, even company employees and their families. We sat around the long oak table, laughing, sharing stories, passing dishes like an actual family. It was messy, loud, imperfect, and it was mine. One crisp autumn morning, I drove to the cemetery alone. Leaves had turned gold, carpeting the ground in warmth. I carried white lilies, Grandpa's favorite, and knelt beside his grave. For a long time, I just sat, staring at carved letters. William Bennett, 1938-2024. A Legacy of Integrity. "Hi, Grandpa," I whispered, voice catching. "I hope you can see me. I hope you're proud." Wind rustled through trees. I took a deep breath. "I'm trying my best. The foundation is helping hundreds of kids. Some will be first in their families to attend college. Your employees are cared for. The company's thriving. And I think I finally understand. It was never about the billions. It was about the values behind them, about using wealth to build, not destroy." Tears blurred my eyes, but I smiled through them. "I promise I'll keep carrying that forward. I won't let your name or your trust be wasted." A gust of wind swept across the cemetery, scattering leaves around me. For a moment, it felt like an answer. That night, sitting at the grand piano in the mansion, fingers moving across keys, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. Yes, my blood family had turned their backs. Yes, they'd tried to break me, but I wasn't broken. I'd built something new, something stronger, a family of choice, a mission bigger than myself. And I knew this was only the beginning, because the true inheritance wasn't the $5 billion sitting in accounts or investments. It was the fire inside me, the determination to live with integrity, to protect what mattered, to carry forward the lessons of a man who'd been more than a billionaire. He'd been my hero, my teacher, my safe place, my grandfather. As I played the last note, sound echoing through the mansion he once filled with laughter, I whispered into the quiet, "I'll never let you down."